Tanse, I'm Krisanachkate. Welcome to APTN National News. Thank you for joining us. Just days after a plane crash that killed 4 people from St. Theresa Point in northern Manitoba, another resident from that community has died. According to Manitoba RCMP, 32-year-old Destiny Wood was last seen at 11 p.m. on Tuesday, September 9th, at her mother's home in St. Theresa Point. However, a missing persons report wasn't released by RCMP until last Monday, and the family was worried for her safety and well-being. On Wednesday, RCMP now says Wood has been located deceased and her death is not believed to be criminal. An autopsy is now scheduled. The RCMP are continuing their investigation this week. A proposed class action lawsuit by former Indigenous employees at a federal agency is set for a certification hearing. The suit was filed in 2021 against Indian Oil and Gas Canada. The suit alleges systemic racism, abuse of power, and workplace misconduct at the agency. A certification hearing is scheduled for November 4th in Edmonton to determine if the case can proceed on behalf of all affected Indigenous employees. Indian Oil and Gas is a special operating agency under Indigenous Services Canada that manages oil and gas development on designated First Nation lands. The lawsuit alleges a long-standing pattern of discrimination, retaliation, and unethical practices that have disproportionately affected Indigenous employees. In 2021, following numerous complaints, an independent workplace assessment ordered by Indigenous Services Canada found systemic racism and harassment within the agency. Although, according to lawyers for the plaintiffs, the 78 recommendations have yet to be fully implemented. A First Nation that's been under a boil water advisory for 30 years has had a 2-day visit from Ontario's Ombudsman. Ombudsman Paul Dubé was invited by Neskantaga First Nation Chief Gary Cusis to witness firsthand the hardships the community faces, including unsafe infrastructure, inadequate health services, and what has become the longest boil water advisory in Canadian history. Here's a brief report. Dubé said his visit was an important opportunity to listen to residents, hear their stories, and observe the realities they are living with. The Ombudsman is an impartial officer of the Ontario Legislature who takes complaints about provincial services. Dubé says he wants to help amplify the voices of the community, located 450 kilometers north of Thunder Bay. Earlier this week, the chief took shots at the Ford and Carney governments over plans for the mineral-rich Ring of Fire. In a statement, the chief said, "We are losing our people to epidemics of suicide, addictions, and mental health struggles, all while the governments of Ontario and Canada continue to neglect our community's needs. Instead, they are pouring resources into mining roads that will destroy our homelands. They only want the minerals under our feet and show little care for the people who live here. We do not consent." A man in the Northwest Territories has been found deceased after he was reported missing nearly 2 weeks ago. On September 3rd, Fort Resolution RCMP were told that the 35-year-old did not come home to the community from a boating trip earlier that day. RCMP were notified on September 14th that human remains were found on Moose Deer Island, less than 10 kilometers from Fort Resolution. Community members identified the remains as the missing man. His name has not been released. The Northwest Territories Coroner Service is now investigating. For more than 15 years, the Pasqua First Nation in Saskatchewan has been working to get a senior care center onto their nation, which will provide culturally sensitive programs and services. And this day has finally arrived. CTV's Mick Fable tells us more about the monumental day for the community.
What was once an idea is now a reality. Pasqua First Nation is now the proud owner of a senior care home established to improve the quality of life for an important portion of their population. It's a facility already getting positive reviews from those who now call the Red Eagle Lodge home.
Feeling that secure, safe environment, they're close to home. This is, you know, they all speak very highly of the way that staff treat them.
Talks for the care home began in 2009. Since then, a number of steps were taken, including consultations with Pasqua members who would possibly use the home on their needs and wants from a senior care center.
We're all facing the same issues on all of our nations regarding our older population and having a safe space for them. And I'm thankful that we're able to provide this for our relatives.
The Red Eagle Lodge currently has 12 residential suites, with half of them currently filled. Those living in the facility have access to a gym, saunas, a theater room, a hair salon, as well as 24/7 clinical staff and on-site security. Also, built around the property are smaller homes meant for independent living. Irvin Pasqua has been living at the Red Eagle Lodge since July. He is happy to be back on Pasqua after spending years in other senior care homes.
I've been gone for 40 years, and I finally come home now. I'm happy to be home here. I'm proud to be home now, anyway.
Special consideration is now being given to members of Pasqua First Nation. Leadership say if there is room at any time, the door is always open for non-members. The Red Eagle Lodge Care Center is intended to serve generations of seniors to come.
To me, if you have the vision and the desire, there's nothing that can stop you from moving forward as a First Nation. And that's how our leadership think. We're constantly thinking of the future.
Mick Fable, CTV News, Pasqua First Nation.
Environment Canada has delivered an update on how this summer's extreme heat impacted people across the country. Weather specialists say the extreme heat over the summer months is one of Canada's deadliest weather hazards. In recent years, heat waves have become more likely and more severe. This summer, Atlantic Canada broke several heat records, while in many parts of the country, it was a drier summer than usual, with hot spells that were followed by cooler than normal temperatures. Much of that hotter weather has also brought many more wildfires and drought throughout northern Canada. We're always looking for your feedback or story ideas. Here's how you can continue the conversation with us. If you have a story you want to share, send us an email to news@aptn.ca. And to read and watch our stories, you can go to aptnnews.ca. And you can also find us online on your favorite social media sites, including TikTok, LinkedIn, and X. And you can watch this newscast anywhere, anytime on YouTube. Follow APTN News to join the conversation and see our latest stories. IKEA in Winnipeg is leading the way when it comes to reconciliation efforts. That story when we come back. Stay with us. Welcome back. IKEA Winnipeg has been working with 4-star woman, also known as Leslie Beardy, to work towards their reconciliation journey together. By working with Indigenous communities, learning Indigenous history and teachings, attending ceremonies, and now having a permanent exhibition and Indigenous family room, IKEA Winnipeg says it's setting an example for other large businesses to follow suit. Julia Ross reports.
As IKEA Winnipeg customers venture through the display room floor, they're met with an exhibition and family room influenced by Indigenous culture.
Does it feel like you're in IKEA right now? No.
IKEA Winnipeg's Indigenous advisor, Leslie Beardy, is the curator of the Come Home Pekue Biguin exhibit in IKEA Winnipeg.
What we think and what we do, what we put into our homes, and it's important to know the history. So there's archival images on the walls that show we've always been here.
The exhibition includes an east-facing teepee with artwork from Michaela Gilbert, as well as photos, a medicines display, and a star blanket made by Corey Sanderson. The teepee has Indigenous values burnt into each pole. Beardy has found tobacco ties and collects them to bring to the land.
We see lots of traffic into this room. We see lots of people coming around the corner and saying, oh, wow, I didn't know IKEA would have something like this. And the other really exciting thing we've seen is a lot of parents in here with their children reading the different communications and teaching, which is really great, and we're super proud of that.
Around the corner, a wall with information about missing and murdered women, girls, and Two-Spirit people is displayed along with a ribbon skirt by Drayden Flett Roulette. Beardy says the top is interchangeable, currently dressed in an Every Child Matters shirt for National Day for Truth and Reconciliation.
When I seen this skirt, I broke down in tears because I know how much work goes into creating art, and like stuff like this, to have my vision to be, seen in real life. Like I broke down in tears, and how beautiful it is.
Andrea Drylick is the Communications and Interior Design Manager for IKEA Winnipeg. She helped design the family room. She says IKEA staff visited different Indigenous families' homes, helping them to come up with solutions.
We come to a customer's home and we talk about the activities they do in their home, what kind of needs they have that they aren't being met with their current home furnishing solutions, and what their dreams are and their frustrations. And then we bring that back and we create solutions with our product that we know will help people's lives at home become easier.
A family from Hollow Water First Nation became the chosen family to design the solutions around. Drylick says that the exhibit is treated well at IKEA Winnipeg.
Both of these spaces we're really excited to see are treated with the most respect out of any display in the store.
Back at the teepee, Beardy says it is beautiful to take up this much space and to have people walk by her work. With her help, staff have participated in raising a teepee, a pipe ceremony, and have dedicated time to learn about residential schools, Indigenous history, and culture.
When I was asked to come on board as the advisor and the curator, we always said it was just between us and them, and it's not, a spectacle, or you know what I mean? We're not doing it for that. It's because they want to learn, and I'm the teacher. in a good way, of course.
The exhibition and family room are permanent installations at the Winnipeg IKEA. Julia Ross, APTN National News, Winnipeg.
Cool story, Julia. The 37th annual Vancouver Queer Film Festival is shining a light on Indigiqueer storytelling. Ryan Cunningham has more from Vancouver.
This year's Vancouver Queer Film Festival has just kicked off and is showcasing 99 films over 10 days at venues across the city. This year's programming includes the feature film Star Walker. It's about a young Indigiqueer Two-Spirit drag queen learning the ropes of the drag community and finding their place in their community. The film stars Dylan Miigwech Chilblow, originally from Garden River First Nation in Ontario.
Well, I actually was offered to originate the character in the very first reading, very first workshop, so that was really special. I think Star is really sweet, really gentle, and is not is affected by the traumas that they experience, but has really worked hard not to let that define them. They still have dreams, they still have wants, they still long for community, long for a connection.
For the first time, the festival has appointed an Indigiqueer artistic director, Mary Galloway, a trailblazing filmmaker and actor herself.
Last year I came here and I was a panelist. I was speaking on one of the panels at the festival last year. And then when I was heading home, I saw the call for an artistic director and I was like, oh, I'm just curious, what would that entail? And I read the job description. I was like, wow, that's all things that I am passionate about, you know, advocating and being a voice for the queer filmmakers from around the world and, you know, getting to showcase queer films.
Galloway is excited to showcase more Indigenous filmmakers and artists this year, including her short film called Embers of Queer Joy.
We've got Indigenous performers, and we've got Charlene Johnny designed the artwork for the festival, which is just incredible. The Modi Award, of course, and then all of the wonderful Indigiqueer Two-Spirit films and filmmakers that are going to be in attendance. So I really want to grow that more every year.
The VQFF provides a platform for screenings, panels, and parties throughout September 21st. Galloway's words capture the festival's electric momentum.
I feel like the festival is really shaping out to be exactly what I envisioned, so I'm so excited for it to kick off.
For Indigenous and queer communities, this edition isn't just a festival, it's a reclamation, one reel at a time. Ryan Cunningham, APTN National News, Vancouver.
Thank you, Ryan. We now want to tell you about this week's third web poll question. Over on our website, we ask, should the federal government be forced to negotiate with the National Children's Chiefs Commission? Your answers are yes, no, or unsure. Go to our website at aptnnews.ca to have your say. One woman in Regina isn't giving up in changing a street name for reconciliation. That story when we come back. Stay with us. On the East Coast, St. John's 22, Charlottetown 19. Cartwright 21, Happy Valley Goose Bay 17. 20 in Saguenay, St. Jovite 23 and sunny. Toronto 27, Sault Ste. Marie 21. Big Trout Lake 8, Sioux Lookout 13. Churchill 10, Thompson 12 and sunny. Gimli 14, rain and Dauphin at 13. Swift Current 16, Saskatoon 13. Buffalo Narrows 16, La Ronge, Smoky and 13. Fort McMurray sunny and 21, Peace River 21. Calgary 25, Medicine Hat 26. Tofino 16, Kamloops 26. Smithers 16, Prince George 21. Old Crow 10, Dawson showers and 9. 15 in Norman Wells, 19 at Fort Simpson. 1 in Sax Harbor, Pawlatuck 7. Baker Lake 13, Arviat 11 and sunny. And Arctic Bay -4, Iqaluit 5. Our next guest is the founder of the Buffalo People Arts Institute in Regina, an organization that focuses on sharing traditional Indigenous teachings and knowledge. For almost a decade, Jolie Big Eagle Kukwetaway has been trying to change the city of Regina's Dewdney Avenue street name to Tatanga, or Buffalo Avenue. The street name was named after Edgar Dewdney, who was the Indian commissioner for the Western Prairies in the late 1800s. Dewdney was also instrumental in withholding rations for First Nations people who were already starving after the buffalo were deliberately decimated from Canadian and US policies meant to starve First Nations people. Big Eagle Kukwetaway says Dewdney Avenue runs through many neighborhoods with a high Indigenous population, and the city of Regina should change it as an act of reconciliation. However, previous city councils have said the name change is too costly. We recently spoke to Jolie from Fort Qu'Appelle. Here's that interview. Jolie Big Eagle Kukwetaway, thank you so much for making some time for us. You recently organized another event in Regina to bring more awareness to a dark chapter in the city of Regina's history. Walk us through what you did over the weekend.
Well, I had a vision. I was gifted a daydream vision in April, and it was to walk the length of Dewdney, which is over 15 kilometers, pulling, dragging buffalo skulls or Tatanga skulls. And, after the work that I've been doing in the community with Buffalo People Arts Institute, we've been advocating in the name of reconciliation to change the name of Dewdney to Tatanga Avenue. And this is the 9th year, the 3rd mayor that we're seeking out this name change. And, and Edgar Dewdney was the first hand man of Prime Minister MacDonald and a lieutenant Indian commissioner in over almost 150 years ago, and he named the street after himself. He owned land in Regina, and he was an opportunist, but he was also somebody who was pretty, I would say, evil. I don't use that word lightly, but he purposely withheld rations to my Indigenous ancestors. He was supposed to give rations as per the treaty, but not only did he withheld them, but he would wait till they rotted, and then he would give them, hoping that my people, my ancestors, would get sick, and some of them did, and some of them did die. And he was one of the architects of residential school as well. So to have this name Dewdney that runs through the heart of Regina is just a real blight on the history of Regina. So this vision to walk, it's part of our ceremony, and we're facing the consequences of colonization with poverty, alcoholism, drug addiction, broken families, and we're looking for many different ways to heal. And so this was bringing ceremony in the city. We hear these land acknowledgements. You're on Treaty 4 land, and I wanted to bring that land acknowledgement to physical light, and that's how we thought we would do it, enact the vision.
And Jolie, what has been the reaction from Regina's new mayor, Chad Baczynski, and his city council to have the name changed from Dudney to Buffalo Avenue? And is there a change in tone compared to the previous city councils?
You know, every new mayor and council, I have hope, and so we were fortunate to have a meeting with the Mayor Chad on September 12th, the Friday before the event. And, you know, we're hoping to be given a chance to do a half-a-day educational workshop with the mayor, council, staff, technicians to talk about Dudney, to talk about why the name change needs to happen. You know, and so we're waiting to hear back for that opportunity. And I'm hopeful that that'll happen. You know, the previous mayor and council voted against it, and so you know we have new leadership, and so you know I'm hopeful. That's all it can be. You know, that's all I have. You know, so yeah.
Really briefly, and finally, Jolie, what is your message to the Regina City Council and the people of Regina for this street name change?
You know, this was just one area of reconciliation that I recommended 9 years ago. And I know there's other cities across, not just Canada, but the world that are addressing name changes. Do we really want Dudney to reflect the social consciousness of the people of Regina, the city known as Pile of Buffalo Bones? No, we don't. So why hold on to the name of Dudney? It's not changing history. It's just acknowledging a new step forward. So I say, you know, let it go. Let the name go. Let's start over. You know, let's talk about Tatanga and what it means to Indigenous people and non-Indigenous people. We're saying this is important. Listen to us. That's all they want. Listen to us. Just do the name change and let's move forward. There's other areas of reconciliation we need to address. This is just one small step.
That's Jolie Big Eagle Kakwetaway, the founder of the Buffalo Arts Institute in Regina. Thank you for your time, Jolie.
Thank you, Creason.
And that's your daytime newscast for this Thursday. Dennis Ward is back for your evening newscasts in a few hours, along with a brand new segment of Truth in Politics. Please join us then. From all of us at APTN National News, Masi Cho Miigwech, hi, thank you for watching. We'll see you again next day.